Welcome back. This is the poet Izzy Human with the philosopher Dunamis on this week's episode number 24, Fight for Greatness. Please be sure to hit that like button on your way in, and if you like us, consider subscribing to keep up with our episodes on YouTube and give us a follow on X.
And Fightcast is here to empower individuals to live healthier, master their finances, pursue their dreams, and inspire others through self-awareness and global impact. As always, this is for entertainment and educational purposes only, and not financial advice.
Dunamis was cracking.
It's been a crazy week. I know I feel like I say that every week. I feel like I say that every week, but yeah, there's been some very unusual things going on in the news. I know that it sometimes makes sense to stay out of a lot of that, and I have been mostly out of a lot of that. My life has had some significant things. I will say I've had some good news recently on the job front. It's been a really, really great week, and the weather's been great too. How have you been doing?
So it's been a crazy good week for you, is what you're saying.
Yeah, very good.
I like that. I like that, man. Well, man, it's been raining here, there for a few days. Had a couple good days with some minimal rain. The usual hugging trees and touching grass. Definitely staying out of the way with news for sure. Here and there, I'll play catch up and develop my own objective thoughts with it and move forward with my truths. I wouldn't say anything crazy. I've had some blessings. It's just been blessed every day. I'll say that. I've definitely. I'm working on another project right now, or projects. So I'm in a good headspace, man. I'm in a good headspace.
That's awesome. So creative juices are flowing.
Oh yeah. A lot of living has been happening. There's been some new beats that have been circulating in the library.
Nice.
Got a really cool direction.
Nice. I'm looking forward to that, man. I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah, I'm excited for the audience to listen.
Well, on that note, we're taking a step forward every single day. I think a lot of what we've talked about has maybe, I don't know if it's been more focused towards the struggles of men, or I don't know if that's just the perspectives that I bring in here, but greatness and achieving greatness. I mean, what does it take, and what, not that I've achieved it, but this is a question that we're going to ask tonight is, what does it take to achieve greatness? This is ultimately what we're looking for, is not to just serve ourselves, and not just, I'm not talking about, when I say greatness, we're not talking about getting rich, right? That can't be the purpose. I mean, it can be a byproduct, but I think that we're talking about something that's probably got a higher purpose to it, right? When we say greatness.
Yeah, I can totally see that. Yeah, and I don't even want to say totally see that. Yeah, it's just there's a godliness that comes with that, and here we go, the greatness and godliness. As humans, of course, we're not perfect, but in the moments where we're laser focused, locked in, executing, those are those moments where there's consistency, and we'll dig into that, because I feel that being great has a lot to do with consistency.
Yeah. So everything we talk about tonight, of course, is we're speaking, experimentally. I have not achieved greatness. This is something that I'm trying to figure out, and so we would like to look at people that have in the past have achieved greatness, in our fields, and what can we learn from them?
Yeah, definitely. I love to watch a lot of all artists do their thing and be great at it. And the one thing that I noticed with all of them that was always the same was the consistency that they had with it. Just there's a level of conviction that comes with setting everything else to the side, looking at yourself in the mirror, saying, I've made this decision. This is what I'm doing. And all of the artists that I've seen, even if it were, even if, even if an artist portrayed themselves as being the most insecure, they were consistently expressing their vulnerabilities.
Mhm.
And even outside of the artist realm, one of the greats that I feel that just embodies that consistency, that tenacity, that conviction, even the humility is Kobe Bryant, man. And it's dope that it's episode number 24 and we're
Mhm.
talking about this. So how could we not talk about Kobe Bryant?
It's it's funny because I look at it's as you were talking about all these things about consistency and greatness. In my mind, I'm picturing Tim Duncan. I'm thinking about the big fundamental and hitting
Yeah.
that bank shot like over and over and over again without cease. And he struggled to get to a second championship while the Lakers went on their three-peat, with Shaq and Kobe. And I remember being at a game in the Alamo Dome. I don't remember exactly which year, if it was 2001. Yeah, I remember us going into the fourth quarter, I think up about 10 points and losing that game. And Kobe was relentless. So, so I have nothing but respect for Kobe Bryant, but I learned that respect by hating him. I just he was that good, man. He beat us every single time, and then eventually we did. In 2003, the Spurs, got a championship, knocking the Lakers off in the second round. But man, he had this kind of tenacity and competitiveness that if you did not want him to have the ball in his hands at the end of a game. You didn't want. There are certain people like that are closers in their field, and Kobe was definitely a closer.
Oh yeah. Makes me put into perspective of quarters, releases, industries would have for artists and how the independent music industry is not like that at all. And there's less of that said. Um, it's the Wild Wild West. It's the Wild Wild West. It's the best way I can put it. And as you're creating your own rhythm, there are others that are creating rhythms, and they're starting to correspond or repel against yours, and eventually you both just have art out, and it's not about it's never about how the what the numbers are. If you've got 1,000 videos and I've got 200 videos, it's not about that. It's not about that. It's about the impact. And that's when I look at Kobe Bryant. I look at, hey, they were down by 10 points, and then all of a sudden, boom, Lakers just pop up. It's not about those numbers at the end of the day. That's a mentality. It's a
Hmm.
mentality. You could look on the board and see that you're down by 10 points, but that doesn't mean anything. There's so much time left in the game. And even from a life standpoint, there's a lot of time left in the game. There is, no matter who you are, because as long as you're here, there's time left, right?
Exactly, and that's really the mentality that we need to have. I saw the Spurs in their championship years have that calmness in the fourth quarter when the team's down 15 points, and you just chipping away at it. You can't. Even the coach would say, Coach Popovich would talk about this pounding the rock. There was this analogy about a man pounding a rock, and
Mm.
the whole story is that he hits the rock, and it eventually breaks in two. But it wasn't that 101st blow that broke the rock in two. It was all of the blows that came before. And that's kind of what we're talking about tonight is greatness isn't something that you see. It's something that kind of grows under the covers. Sort of happens in the shadows. Those shots that Kobe hit or that Michael Jordan hit or that Tim Duncan hit to win the games, the NBA finals, or we even were talking last week about Sovereignty, the horse that won the Kentucky Derby. Those moments were not But that one moment is not what made that person great. It was all the time in the gym that nobody ever saw is what put greatness into that situation, right? So I would say that I don't know Kobe Bryant, but I would imagine his work ethic had a lot to do with his greatness.
Oh yeah, yeah. I used to watch the videos of him speaking as the video would go on with him getting to the gym early. And there was one, I don't remember everything in its entirety, but it was along the lines of him breaking it down to the math of what he does, and mathematically, with the training and the consistency that he has, it puts whoever it is 2 to 5 years behind over time as he does that every single day. And again, I mean, my gosh, these are life lessons when you're looking at it in hindsight. There's no secret formula to it. And shout out to DJ Deathlord that I've talked with a lot about this, from music artist to music artist. And you yourself, Dunamis, you know that it's not about the one song that's going to put you on the map. It's about the grind and the underground, just the overtime that you put into all of it, and respecting each and every one of those products as their own, but just knowing that you're putting product out. And that's so key to any of this. Is just always putting the product out. And again, there's no secret formula to it. You just have, if you want it, you just have to work hard at it. There's nothing to it. There's really no cheat code, even if you do have a whole bunch of money, because you could have a whole bunch of money and be all invested in this and get top prospecting, and still, again, you're going to have to prove yourself at some point. Why? If you go back into our episodes, we talk about purpose and we talk about these things. Yeah, take a listen to those and put it all together. Oh gosh, I love it when our stuff comes together, Dunamis.
It is. It's like a sacred geometry at this point. I feel like, even this episode 24, where 4 has always been a very significant number to me, and we're in 6 sets of 4 now. It just, greatness as a topic in my mind is what we're striving towards. We're not striving towards perfection, right? We're never gonna achieve perfection, but I really feel like this is the time and the moment now for us to put the distractions away, for us to take all the stuff that has been consuming our mind and our time and our effort and wasting our energy. And now that we have things like community and purpose that we've talked about, and put money in the right perspective and talking about those things, and we've talked about why we do certain things and how we can use AI and music, and I know we've touched on so much, and crypto as well. We're still at the end of the day a freedom loving permissionless crypto project as well. Hit like and subscribe. And
Please do.
it's but life is all of it, man. And when it all comes together, that's exactly it. We Greatness is not something that happens when you're hitting on one cylinder or two cylinders, right? It takes all of it.
Right.
It all has to come together just right. So that's kind of why we're touching on this now, is to bring light to the end goal and maybe talk about how to maybe fix some of the weaker areas, right?
Yeah, man, you hit on a lot of keys. You hit on a lot of keys there, Dunamis, and I don't want to sound like a broken record with it, just because, for me, being able to break the curses within the loop of just overall being, is such an integral part of growth and maturity and the individual self. I mean, a lot of the greatness that you have within you is determined on you, and you can do these, going to the waters, and you can be sitting right there and still be stuck, knowing that you've got a whole water of abundance to drink out of, but you just have to tell yourself to drink. The self actualization, is just crucial. And that goes back into the purpose that, what we were talking about just with the pieces together of our podcast. And I love that we've been able to piece this together so objectively, and in all of this, just from whatever administration is in office. It doesn't matter. It just happens to be that, the Trump administration is in office now. But I think outside of anything that, you could try to staple it to, it all comes down to choice. It all comes down to that free thought. And that's, that's what we want to empower the most when it comes to these podcasts that we're doing, is empowering that voice that you always had within you, and now you're starting to hear it a little bit more and more each week as we continue to progress throughout these subjects. And it's all within. It's very much within. And I know I say it's not hard, but I get it could also be the toughest thing in the world. But just realizing that it's simple, like just knowing that it is simple rather than it being easy or hard.
Absolutely. And we're going on the journey at the same time that we're talking about it. This is something that, we want to achieve greatness too, in the fields that we're in, whether it's as a software developer, whether it's in the Web3 space, whether it's as starting a business, whether it's as an artist, as a rapper, whether it's as a producer, whether it's, you know, just in being a good father for my boys, all of those things. We need to put the seriousness and greatness as the end goal. We can achieve greatness. Every single one of us can. And I think that the lie that so many of us have fallen into is this lie that's for somebody else. I believe that
Mm.
lie. I believe that lie, that I couldn't do it, that people could be great, but that I couldn't be great. I believed that lie for a very, very long time, and I'm still recovering from believing that lie, to be honest. So as I've awakened to my sovereignty, and I've wanted to share it with all of you and help all of you awaken to your own sovereignty as well. Yeah, there's nothing that any one of us has that's special, but if we can all help each other to wake up and take that personal responsibility, that's the trick. But it's also not the same as a participation trophy. This is something where I think that we all try and learn and do our best.
Yeah. It's psychological warfare. I agree with you. I still struggle with that at times. So I'll have those character building moments where, like you said, the elite will omit words and make them inaccessible or make it seem like they're unattainable. And you have to go through these gatekeeping loopholes that disable you from achieving that. And then in turn what you do is you associate it with the word greatness, and there's a wall now of you thinking that you're not able to fully achieve greatness because of there being a limited amount of it. So knowing that a man can't just omit words, abundance is for everybody. So in like abundance of life, abundance of air, abundance of conversation, whatever it may be, but there's an abundance. And it's just the word itself, it's attracting more of an abundance towards you. And that's where you break the curse. That's where you break this whole thought process that's been programmed into our minds for such a long period of time. And it's even now I catch myself when I'm not in my sanctuary, aka my home, where I feel the most secure, and then going out into public and being around not so like-minded people, not to where it's unbearable, but when you start talking about running a business and you start to get away from the 9 to 5, and you have some pushback to someone who has a family to support, and they have to, this is their tenure. And so I would never knock that, argue that. And sometimes I almost feel that I don't judge what other people do, but I do find it that whenever because we all talk about wanting to be our own owner and having this and having that, but as soon as you hear or you're around somebody who does it, then all of a sudden it's a doesn't seem very achievable, or it sounds promising versus a, well, good, I'm really glad business is good. It just becomes a different branch of conversation. It's more of a, how likely do you think you are in are how likely do you think you're going to actually succeed kind of conversations versus just, I wouldn't I wouldn't say that I wouldn't also say that I wouldn't start a business if I was going to fail, but
Hmm.
ah, I'm I'm also, yeah, but I'm not built that way. Me personally, I'm not built for something that, like, hey, I'm going to start this and fail at it. No, whereas there's no plan B. There's no plan B with this.
That's you know, I was kind of thinking as you were saying it. It kind of reminds me, rather than what you would call like a Mamba mentality, that's sort of like a pit bull mentality. It's like I'm just gonna hang, I'm gonna clench, and I'm not gonna let go. And there's nothing you can do that's gonna make me quit. And I I've honestly been taking on my life from that perspective for a while. I don't have a
Mm.
plan B. I don't have something to fall back on, you know. So yeah, I mean, I've had a bit of a pit bull mentality here recently, but I think sometimes, you know, the journey that we go through in life, we get put into these uncomfortable situations to see how we'll react to them. And for many of us, we take the easy way, the non-principled approach. We'll figure out some way to, maybe we had a dream, but it was easier for us to get a job. Right, we've talked about jobs
Mm.
in this thing in the past. There's nothing wrong with a job. I'm hoping to get a job here very soon, but what we're talking about is just being conscious, being aware of your life's circumstances and how much of it is a result of your choices, because every single day we have choices that we make. And I do think greatness is achievable for each and every one of us once we learn how to get there, how to do it.
Mm.
The
Mm.
problem is some of us, aka myself, it sometimes takes 40 years of hard knocks before you really understand the seriousness of the game that we're playing.
Yeah, and I believe the wise saying went, better late than never. And yeah, it's that accountability, it's that self-awareness, it's that you got to look at yourself in the mirror. Kobe Bryant wasn't comparing himself to other players. He was looking at his own film, and he was watching the game, and he was watching as things would unfold. And it's just seeing things happen in life and watching them as they unfold, and just knowing how you're going to move in those ways. You can't let others dictate your emotions, dictate your moves, and you dictate your success, your trajectories. That's all on you. You do have free thought. You do. And on the other end of the free thought, the the reaction has already been written, in the sense of a reaction is going to happen. It doesn't specify what specific action is going to happen or what's going to take place, but just knowing that there will be a reaction. So that's where myself and Destiny and some of my conversations may be conflicted with others. You can fight me in the comments on it, but that's where I feel that there's no altering destiny, just because there are words that are set in stone. And that also goes back into the psychological warfare of certain words being omitted, or making it seem like they're in scarcity. It all wraps back in the circle. But you break, again, you don't break the loop, you break the cycles within the loop. So you have to look at what you're doing as the steps, the milestones, completions to get yourself to a full revolution, right? And that's how I look at those zeptoseconds, the seconds within the seconds within the seconds. They all matter, aka just being present, staying in the moment. Those are things that I've seen as key takeaways in a lot of growth and success in my own life. How being right here in this very moment keeps you task oriented. It helps you with your time management, because you're able to put it in again, just put it into perspective, put that moment into perspective, and not hone too far in the past, hone too far in the future. Just knowing that what you're doing in that exact moment is going to dictate what happens right after that, and then it's a puzzle piece from there. Man, I would I feel like now I'm just a complete conspiracy theorist when I just think about puzzles and I think about crosswords and I think about all of these things that are used to stimulate our mind and keep us healthy, keep us strong, but just how symbolic that is in just the nature of humanity, of just broken words and just putting it all together and these syllables and this and that and the third, and just for us to realize that it's all just sound. It's all just sound.
There's intention behind it as well, which which is what makes it a spell, right? When when you have the meaning behind the sound is significant as well. There's a lot in the vibration of the sound of the words that we use, getting around to how this affects our lives and how we can sort of try and steer the ship in a direction that gives us a favorable outcome, right? If you're aiming for greatness and you don't achieve greatness, hopefully we at least achieve good or pleasant or peaceful. And for myself, I've started to recognize that you need all of these other things that we talked about before, and you need them all to be in the right place in the right order. So for greatness to happen, we talked about action. We talk about a lot of stuff, having purpose and having action and taking that first step. If you don't have a strategy, like we talked about before, and you take action without a strategy, then you're going to end up walking in the wrong direction. And typically, you don't end up in greatness. So it's important for you to have a purpose and a strategy and a community, people to hang on to. Is he human? I got to say, I enjoy the fact that we get to do this talk at least once a week without fail. And that's been a very stable part of my life here the past few months. It's it's good, and hopefully this is a stair step in our path to greatness.
I agree. I agree. Throughout all the changes and transitions that have happened in the course of 2 years, this has been the one thing that has been consistent, steady, and it balances me because in the middle of the week, I know that I'm going to have to start brainstorming, thinking, and putting the pieces together for this podcast. It's so dope to no matter what, through any storm that you're going through, seeing that and recognizing that as a victory each week, 24 weeks to be exact. Ah, man, there's so many milestones that we're hitting, and we're going to be crossing many more individually together as a team. There's so many things I'm really excited about to share with you guys as the time continues to come, and we're there, we're getting there. We're there now, but we're also getting where we want to be, and we are who we say we are. No imposter syndrome, and that's the mantra. So if you don't have a mantra, you are who you say you are. No imposter syndrome. I had also seen a comment, we are who God says we are, no imposter syndrome. And you can find me in the comments because, again, this isn't about a religious view specifically. It's just more of a whatever God is to you. And I want to wrap that around too, back into what we were talking with purpose, but having that purpose. So, what is your why? What is your why? And I know that there's some Death Lords out there that will give me the Death Lord response, but really, what's your why? And I mean, not even just what do you live for, but just why are you here? And, why are you you? And depending on that answer, I mean, just keep asking yourself questions. It's the best thing that I've seen. It's a really good form of therapy, I find, in that why. And I like to reevaluate my why too, and just to see where my mindset is once milestones have been hit, to see if it's not like that anymore, why isn't it? But it's a good system of checks and balances.
And I would say, in addition to that, and where you mentioned mantra, I think having this positive. So many people talk about the whole idea of the secret, and and positive affirmations and manifesting and a lot of this stuff. And I would say that in the mantras that I've started to speak positive affirmations to myself, and I've done this for years, and I've had the most effect not from the words that are spoken or even having it and saying it repetitively, but what works is when in speaking the mantra or speaking the affirmation or the statement, you're able to change in yourself some belief. And I think that is part of maybe what makes a great person great, is that unstoppable, indomitable belief that they have in themselves. So a reason why Kobe could take that last shot, or I even think about we were talking about the work ethic, and I think about Jerry Rice and how he's often considered to be the greatest football player that ever lived. And there's many names in that bucket as well. But not only is it work ethic, but you have to believe in yourself. And so, it's interesting, I think, for us to start talking about a bit of a framework, and it's not a religious framework, but it can be. I can say from somebody who is a believer, and what you're effectively talking about, though, is getting your mind into the right place, whether it's through meditation or an affirmation or a mantra. It's like having a system that allows you to believe that greatness is for you too, I think is important, because you have to be able to overcome the fear. And the fear keeps us from taking that first step in the right direction. And so having, the one that I used to always say was, and I still like to, is that money comes to me frequently and easily.
Yep.
And I would just say that all the time. Money comes to me frequently and easily. It's not, the reason I think it works so well is because it's not a very difficult thing to believe. I'm not saying anything that's really outlandish or outrageous. I say that money comes to me frequently and easily. And the more that you say that, it makes you for me, it makes me a lot less conscious and worried about being stingy with my money. I can be more generous with my money because money comes to me frequently and easily.
Oh yeah, I love that. I love that. And if there's fear within you and you say those things, the universe will pick up on the fear. You can't fool the universe. The universe knows what you really feel inside. And there was something that we talked about, off camera about, the roots are you, or the roots take care of you, you don't take care of the roots.
Yeah.
So your roots will direct you and redirect you. You have to be fully sound with what you're saying and with how you feel. There has to be a parallel that comes with that. And something else that I was going to say too was, I think that greatness is also, there's a lot of like resilience has a lot to do with greatness too. And I feel that, and shout out to Jarhead, because Jarhead, he's mentioned this a lot in past talks that we've had, with how much can you take? How much can you
Mhm.
take at the end of the day? There are so many people that, like Kobe Bryant, for example. Again, I mean, we've been using him a lot, but it's also episode number 24, and he's a prime example because I feel that he just embodies that greatness of the injuries that he's had and the rehabilitations that he had to work through, and just any athlete or any artist that may have strained their vocal cords and what they had to do to get back on stage and do those live performances, that how much can you take factor. And I feel that that also separates a lot of people from being great as well. Again, going back into the psychological warfare, you can either sit there, stand there, whatever you want to do all day, and listen to this until it's engraved in your head to the point where you're just walking around wandering and not having any thought of your own, or you are withstanding through this just words that really don't mean anything, or at least it's it's not meaning what it's actually supposed to mean, and you can rise above that. And I see a lot of people, young and old. I don't want to discriminate a demographic, but that just give up. That just don't see that kind of light. Um, More power to them, and what makes sense to them as far as stability goes. Stability is different for everybody. For me personally, I've been in the workforce. I really enjoyed what I did. I enjoy the people that I worked with. We had our character building moments like any team does. Ultimately, for me, it came down to the teachings that I was given, that I was fortunate to receive. Am I able to take those teachings and form my own entity? The answer was yes. Now, what are we doing with this? It's always been an education factor for me with everything that I do, from music to this to just even how I conduct myself around others. You have to be that. You do. You have to be that because again, the universe picks up on that. And if you're just talking about it, you're not actually acting on it. You won't attract those things, or you'll attract a fraction of it. So be intentional with your intentions.
Absolutely. Yeah. The What you focus on is key. That's something that we definitely know. And when we talk and make these plans and set out what it is we want to do, I think that the difference between everything that we've talked about up to week 23 and where we're at here is both time and discipline. That's really the two pieces that I think we've used the word grind, right? And what we've talked about tonight, we've talked about getting up and if you're talking about working out, you have to get up and tell your body to move when you don't want to. If you're talking about being a music artist, you might have to make music at a time when you don't feel really inspired to make music, right? And there's, I guarantee, times that Kobe didn't want to go to the gym and shoot basketballs. And
Right.
It's in those moments, I think, that we talked last week about sovereignty and the trick, and the reason these two tie in so well together is because it's discipline. You mentioned Jarhead, and I think he probably understands this more than any of us. He could probably speak to this quite a bit. But if you're in the military, you tend to learn about discipline. I was not in the military, so I'm a little weaker in the discipline department, but that's something that I'm working on now. And I think that that's probably a big key to our power and our success and greatness is having that discipline. I mentioned push-ups. It's like, I can start doing push-ups, and I have been doing push-ups, but let's just say I start today, start tomorrow, and I'm doing push-ups. There's going to be a period of time where it's not going to seem like there's any benefit. It doesn't look like there's anything that's happening. I think the trick is when we talk about greatness is that's the same with everything. It doesn't matter whether you're doing
Mhm.
push-ups or learning how to rap or learning how to program or whatever it is you're striving for in life. The struggle, there's going to be more struggle and a period of not seeing progress. And that is where life is designed to make you quit. If you can push
Right.
past that and push through that, that's where you get to that 10,000 hours.
hmm Look at it as if you are taking care of a plant. You've got water, you've got sun, you've got plant feeder, you've got all of these elements that you have to factor into watering and taking care of this plant to give it, an opportunity to grow at its fullest potential. You, there's no magic grow with this. And if there is, then you already know it's a shortcut. So there's nothing that needs to be explained with that. But to plant a flower from seed to the right fertilizer, soil, whatever, all of that, but it's all on you.
And the fruit doesn't come until the very end of it all. You know,
Right.
that's another perfect example of that illustration where there's roots, there's things that are going on underneath beneath the soil, and you don't even see a sprout for a period of time. But once you do, you see a very small portion of that plant as the plant is growing underneath the soil still. And and even as you see the plant grow and photosynthesize and go through different stages, like you don't see a tomato actually show up and get ripe and get ready to eat until that plant has already been, alive for quite some time. I can tell you the tomato plants out in our backyard, they're not I don't we don't quite have any ripe tomatoes yet. We haven't gotten our first ripe tomatoes of the season. So it just takes time, right? And it looks like nothing's happening for a really long time.
Would you say that out of the crops that you've grown, that's the one that's taken the most time?
No, tomatoes actually come pretty fast relative to some of the other stuff. I definitely don't have any jalapenos or peppers. The corn is only a couple, foot or two high. Still looks like grass. So there's really not much that's edible out in the garden right now, other than some green onions. I can sort of trim some of the green onions, and there's some basil, a little parsley, and then there's some green tomatoes, but they haven't turned red yet. But tomatoes actually are one of the first things that you'll see ready to
Mm,
go. Actually,
I love me a good fried green tomato, man.
oh yeah, yeah,
Kids are
man. I
fun.
they're all right.
Oh my gosh, great partner, y'all. Great partner, y'all, and really appreciate everybody for tuning in with us every week and just tagging along and taking this information with it if you want and just growing with it.
Yeah, man. And the the information will be different for every person, and each of these things is going to be the great thing about greatness is you can actually not just apply it professionally, but these are things that you can probably see play out in several these are I imagine concepts or ideas that you'd want to see play out in several different areas of your life.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, most definitely. In fact, I feel that it's better. I feel you've got to don't put your eggs all in one basket and the facets and we're talking about that with even just diversifying your portfolio. And you've mentioned this to me off camera about wearing multiple hats and we're not just meant to wear one hat specifically. We're meant to be masters at all things and that's why there's an abundance of knowledge, so don't limit yourself. And it doesn't have to be I have to go to school for this or I have to go to school for that. Just going to school to me is just being around people that are smarter than me and me having the ability to listen with the intent to understand. And if I'm able to take in those things or, take in as much as I can or be curious enough to ask questions to better myself, then those are the things that I'm going to do. It's again, it's all just the self-awareness aspect and just yeah, you want to at least be able to be a solutions provider, and if you don't know the answer, just being able to get to a solution, whether it be through someone else or Google or whatever it may be, but just these little roles that you don't think about throughout your life and throughout the day, that what you're doing and how you're and what you're developing and depending on what type of environment you're in. I know with me personally, the consistency of getting music done or answering the phone or just being more prompt with text messages has shown me to be reliable or trustworthy or whatever those cases are. But just I see that because of the action that happens, because of the phone call that'll come, knowing that, oh, he's going to pick up. It wouldn't be like that if I didn't pick the phone up. And I don't say I picked the phone up for everybody either. No
Mhm.
offense. You could fight me in the comments. But uh, yeah, just all in all, don't be afraid to try new things. And to all of my, and Dunamis, maybe to you too, to having kids. It's the most incredible thing. I don't know. I don't have children yet. And I'm really excited to have them, and to have an offspring and to have offsprings that you are going to be continuing your legacy, or you're working with them to continue forth this legacy. Why wouldn't you want to wear multiple hats? Just to be able to pass that information along to your kids and say you don't have to be boxed in this, and don't feel boxed. You're going to be told a lot of things, and I'm not saying that I'm right either, but at least you knowing at the end of the day that it's on you, that is what you need to understand at all times, no matter what, because people are going to sway you to think and feel, and it's going to keep evolving. I won't say worse, but it's going to keep evolving.
One of the goals, I think, of what we talk about here, and I think you're hitting on it really well right now, is people wake up over the course of their life generally to these sorts of things on what it means to grow up and take accountability and be sovereign and be successful and be great. And I just thinking through the ways that myself and we as people sabotage ourselves and keep ourselves from achieving greatness. I can I can point out quite a few areas where I've run into trouble. Not that anyone needs a laundry list, because we all make mistakes, right? But is there anything that you can think of that would, like, be a recurring? We talk about these cycles, right? The circles, and how maybe sometimes these lessons have to get learned multiple times in our life, and sometimes we learn them and move on. But do you have any advice or thoughts regarding maybe the spiral and what it takes to break out into something that maybe looks like greatness?
Yeah, and I'm gonna try to word this the best that I can. What I'd say, one of the growth areas that I'm always working on is just doing, and I will catch myself spiraling when I'm not doing things. If I'm not sticking to my workout regimen, I will find myself having more confusion, because these were schedules that I had mentally blocked out for for moments, and you know, same thing with like smoothie diets and just doing, man, just doing. And I've got good friends that always remind me, and then it helps me, like, just, hey, post that song. No, no, I'll get to it. No, yeah, you get to it. How about now? Like, oh yeah, and it gets done, and two or three songs get done after that, and then you feel great. You're like, man, I'm really glad that I got it done. I have this voice in my head that tells me, not told me, because the voice still exists. Don't call nobody. I don't know what 1-800 number you're going to try to call, but don't call them. And it always says, as long as you listen to me, you'll never go broke. And I've been listening to that voice, and man, I know it almost, and I apologize, guys, because like, I wouldn't say that I've made it over to the other side, and it's not about making it over to another side, but like me spiritually and me personally, I feel like I had to. I went through a lot, like mentally. So for me, the spiritual comeback for me it was just so far greater than anything that a human could put on a gold stick, and just waver in front of me, because I feel like I've seen a lot of the get rich quick moments, and you can't get rich quick doing this, because this was meant to take time, and yeah, I mean, that's why time exists. But the other thing is too, like, time waits for no man, and time is also a man-made construct. So when you're looking at a watch, and you're looking at, if you're going to be late to dinner, just know that time wasn't meant for that. Time is something that's more, it's far beyond, our eyes can see.
Absolutely. And I oftentimes think about one of the tricks of life is getting to the point where, and we'll have to unpack this in another episode, but getting to the point where you learn how to use time, and investing is all about time and the compounding of interest. But when time is working against you, it's not pleasant. When you have time on your side and time is just increasing what you have, it's a good place to be. And that's a part of greatness, actually, because once you understand the world the way it really is, and you can achieve a plan for you and your family and your life, and you can start to put those into place, what we're basically talking about is you're only then separated from your goal by time and suffering. That's all we have to look forward to. As men, we suffer through what we're meant to suffer through. And the great thing about it is, at least as a Christian, is I believe that God does not give us more than we can handle. So
Right.
if I believe that God's not going to give me more than we can handle, then I can hold on like a pit bull and never give up.
Right. I feel the exact same way with that. God never gives us anything that we can't handle. And even if it feels like it just everything's going to fall, it usually doesn't. It usually does not. And I've learned now that there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. Emotions are like seasons, they come and go. And these moments in life are seasons, they come and they go. And these are just areas in your life. These are certain spots. These are highlight points. But this doesn't depict the entire picture. These are just moments. And when you are able to compartmentalize those that aspect, that equation, as you will, then you'll really start to see life for what it really is. And again, just how important it is to just at least respect the moment, be in the moment, and acknowledge that a moment is a moment to capture. It's
Mhm.
not the capture of an entirety, it's just a capture of an area. It's simple math. It very much is simple math. And I love that we've been able to be esoteric with this evening and still be able to come around to some really good corners and some good points and some good one-way stops and some changes in the speed driving. It's because this is one of those things where I feel like we can talk about the same thing over and over and over again. But just touching on greatness and knowing that greatness comes in many forms, and there's many hats to be worn, and in fact, it's encouraged. And time itself is a man-made construct, and when you start to feel time is against you, it's when you're running by the clock of man and not by the time that was actually meant for you to follow. And that's just it's with strategy, it's with planning, it's with purpose, and it's a different type of equation. It's not the 9 to 5. It's not time management is not just the 20 minutes to 30 minutes. It's being able to put your whys and put all your purposes together and put your strategies together and put all of those into place and really form genuine equations that are going to get you in a good general direction of where you want to be when you figure that out.
And one of those actual purposes and strategies, I feel like coming forward this next week, we could talk about silver as an actual practical way that you can start saving over time and put some of this stuff into practice in a way that you'll actually be able to see here in 2025 before the year's out, actual practical positive changes in your portfolio, in your personal savings. I think that that's probably one of the most, as we shift here from talking strategic back over to tactical just a little bit. I think I just wanted to tease a little bit of maybe what we can get in next week, because I think that people are going to start again asking practically what is it that they can do, to make these things happen in their life, and that's that we can actually give some really cool practical steps next week with that.
Oh yeah, madly excited. Stay tuned, y'all.
Come on back. And man, with that, thank you. If you guys have made it all the way to the end, definitely be sure to drop a trophy emoji in the comments to let us know. And we'll have to be back with some silver talk with episode 25 next week. Izzy Human, how do you feel, man?
Feel fantastic.
Awesome. Well, let's jump into that Fight Night React. And y'all have a good night.
Have a great night and never give up the fight.
There we go.
You could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. Looking for change, looking for pain, pulling a mob, pushing a train. I'll never stop, stick to a lane, pick up the pieces and go rearrange. I'll be the best above all the rest, put me to the test and expect nothing less, your check is I'm chess, what's happening next, yeah. He got the venom, a tangible weapon, no coming in second. This life is a lesson, he got a new engine from pain, it's a blessing. New focus, no guessing, just bold and obsession. All in his possession, you got their attention. I'll leave an impression and take your redemption. Just kill, no discretion, your mind is a weapon. 11-11, it's time for progression, You could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. People like sheep, move feet, hurt it easy. You don't wanna be fast asleep when they scheming. Better stand tall, ready for a fight, believe me. When they try the chains, you can say no, free me. So he's been looking for somebody who could save him, instead of searching inside for what they gave him. A strong will, strong mind causes mayhem. We could change the world, change times, rearrange them. Staying on pace, running the race. Life is a chase, I don't want a place, I wanna be first. Work till it hurts, dehydrated thirst till I'm in a hearse. High ambitions and the right mind can take you so far. It's like you lived a few lifetimes. Take off from a break off from the weak minds, they can stay soft. You can change lives, you create thoughts, never waste time. You got one shot, you got one life, better pop off. What do you like? Make a dream job. No 9-5, no mean boss, just my life and free thoughts. You could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. People like sheep, move feet, hurt it easy. You don't wanna be fast asleep when they scheming. Better stand tall, ready for a fight, believe me. When they try the chains, you can say no, free me.